Hi and welcome to the first episode of a multi-part series called Find Zen with VR, hosted by Virtuous Retail and Zen Finder. I am Ranjit Baba, your host and co-founder of Zen Finder. Through this series, we hope to have conversations with people about the new reality created by COVID-19 and hopefully they'll help us make sense of it. Today I'm in conversation with one such person and she's going to help us make sense of another reality created by this situation called working from home. I'm in conversation with Supriya Jain, who's an author, a trainer, and a marketing consultant. So, Supriya actually conducted a research about 10 days ago, and I have the findings here in front of me. Let me quickly jump right into it, Supriya. From the 160 responses that you got, I understood that the very basic thing that people are struggling with are that while yes, you are working from home, they're finding it difficult to kind of structure their day. So, what advice would you have for them?
Hi Ranjit, thanks for having me over. As you rightly pointed out, structure is perhaps one of the biggest challenges people are facing today because they're not able to differentiate between work and life, and household chores are really taking their toll on people. In fact, 38% of people feel that they're working more than they were when they were actually going to office. It's also perhaps because support structures have sort of collapsed, right? And you're doing too many things at the same time. And of course, this is an age of multitasking, but there's only so much people can do without really being completely distracted. So I think one of the biggest things about putting structure in place is to divide your time into chunks and assign chunks to the things that you need to do. So, for instance, if you're working from home, you need to say, okay, here's a big chunk of time, 3 to 4 hours that I'm only going to spend on working. Here's 2 to 3 hours that I'm only going to spend on household chores. Here's 2 to 3 hours that I will only spend on family time or playing with my kids or as me time or just to relax. So putting those chunks in place and sticking to them is the best way that you can actually have some sort of semblance of structure in place in these times.
Great. Thanks for that, Supriya. But that also brings me to my next question. Because what I'm understanding from what you said is that, you set aside blocks throughout the day and you kind of just focus on those specific tasks. But what I'm also hearing from other people and what I'm seeing in this research is that while you end up doing that, it actually makes your days a lot longer and that can affect your personal life. So, what advice do you have for both employers and employees on how to kind of maintain boundaries so that, they don't overstep the others?
I think that's a very valid question given that Indians are notorious for not having any boundaries. We've seen that time and again in our personal lives. But now that we've had this whole work-life integration going on, it's even more difficult to sort of maintain boundaries and say, no, here's my work time, and to tell your family that please don't disturb me while I am technically in office, and to equally tell your team managers or to your colleagues that I'm done with the workday now, can we not have any more calls, or I will come back to you tomorrow or something like that. So it becomes difficult unless you do it consciously, and like I mentioned before, if you're able to put that structure, if you're able to put those chunks of time aside, it makes it easier for you to also define, decide and communicate these boundaries.
Okay, thanks for that. And finally, I think the last question that a lot of people had was just how do you kind of stay motivated? And I think this is true across the board, whether you're an employer or an employee. The situation is so bleak around us at this point of time that people are just finding it difficult to just stay motivated and kind of just get through the day. So, what advice would you have for them?
I think you put a very important point across when it comes to motivation because it's an all-time low. I've been hearing from people time and again that I don't even feel like getting out of bed. I don't really feel like doing anything. People are just sitting and staring at walls all day. So of course, engagement and motivation is really low. I would like to look at it from two lenses. One is, of course, self-motivation, where you have to tell yourself that this too shall pass and I need to move on and do something productive in this time frame. And the other is, of course, the onus is on the team managers to really communicate to their employees, to their teams, and sort of tell them that it's okay. These might be bad times, but we're in this together. So the whole idea is both for individuals and for team managers to really look at this as a temporary break in process or in progress, but it will get over. There will be time to move forward and move on, and that's what you need to sort of look at. So it's time to sort of reframe the problem.
All right, thanks, Supriya. I think that's all the time that we have. We will, of course, recap this entire discussion and put it down in the description below for you to watch. And stay tuned because we'll be talking to a lot more interesting people in the coming weeks about these various subjects. Thanks so much for tuning in.